Hey YouTube, this is Firewizard23, and welcome to another book review. I'm reviewing the 8th book in the Alex Rider series, Crocodile Tears by Anthony Horowitz. And once again, I have to admit, finishing it, I was disappointed. Book starts out, just everyday things happening, and then the shit gets real. And Alex has finished his 7th mission, and he's trying to get to a normal life. He's back with his girlfriend, and they go to a party hosted by a man named Desmond McCain. Used to be a boxer. He had to get out of boxing because of a serious injury that deformed his face. He got into real estate and politics and stuff, and then they found he was crooked. He went to jail, converted to Christianity, and now he's in charge of a big organization called First Aid. That is the first responders to any kind of world disaster. But spoilers, he's evil. There's not even any ambiguity about. If you're gonna. There's a rule in comedy that if you have a gun somewhere in the first act, somebody has to shoot it by the third act. If you're going to mention somebody, of course they're the bad guy. But I think what is the biggest disappointment in this book, you read that one Alex Rider adventure, you've read them all. It's really the only thing that's the biggest complaint I have about the series. With the exception of Scorpio, which tried to do something really interesting, and then a girl at Barnes & Noble actually pointed out really well, he goes back to Alex goes back to just doing what he does with no explanation. It's like you just had like a serious emotional thing like that doesn't affect you at all. It's really jarring. But yeah, every Alex Rider adventure is like exactly the same. We have this setup where we don't think this guy's up to no good, and then there's suspicion, and then something happens, and they have to send Alex Rider in. And then the bad guy captures Alex, and then he reveals his big master plan, and then Alex, through completely random circumstances, gets out of it. Sometimes just pure luck. I would say there is a really interesting front bumper in this story, which is that Alex is contacted by an independent reporter, journalist, who basically has cracked the fact that he's a spy. He's cracked it, and he wants to basically write a big book about him, and he wants to become rich and famous and make all this money sharing it with Alex, which he's actually crooked, that's not true. And Alex reports him to the MI6 and says, what are we going to do? And basically, through an agreement, Alex is going to try to look into this other guy who doesn't really seem like he's isn't connected to Desmond at all initially. But then we find out he is. You're going to go on a school trip and act like you're all normal, and you're going to find out all this stuff, and we'll take care of this guy, Harry Bowman. I think is his name. Let me just pull up the book real quick here. I got it right here. Yes, Bowman. Well, his last name is Bowman. But what MI6 does, and it's probably one of the funniest things I think I've ever read, they do a plan called, Invisible Man, where basically they make Harry disappear from the world. They destroy all his credit accounts, they change the locks in his apartment, they pin him with the crime of killing another person, and they make it look like he's like this madman who escaped from a lunatic asylum, and then finally MI6 comes in at like the moment where he's about to like completely lose his freaking mind, and they're like, look, stay the fuck away from Alex Rider. Don't go near him. If you do, you will vanish off the face of the earth. And he basically doesn't do anything. Except he's stupid enough to go to like the actual bad guy who's kind of figured it out, Desmond. And he basically tells him exactly what he's found out about Alex, and then Desmond kills him. Which is actually kind of really a sad death, actually. Because you feel like the guy might have redeemed himself, but no, he just... Yeah, maybe he kind of deserved it then, if he's going to sit there and just spoil everything. Because you read him saying this to Desmond, and you're like... Oh, Bowman, you are a fucking idiot. Why are you doing this? But no, this is another thing. This particular villain, Desmond McCain, I have such a problem with him because he's not that interesting. What you find out is that Desmond McCain, I cannot speak for racial tensions in the UK. I can speak for them in America. I certainly have a social perspective on what that is. Particularly, and yes, I'm a white guy in America, but like I certainly can understand the American perspective of racism. I don't think I could really speak honestly of the British perspective, but to Desmond's statement, he grew up in Britain, and he basically being black, it was a handicap where everyone treated him with disparity, that he wouldn't do anything, and he suddenly realized at a very young age that the thing that made people respect others was money. If you have a lot of money, people will respect you, and so his entire life has been devoted to getting rich and getting in positions of power. And that's what ultimately turned him to greed and sent him to the jail time. And while he was in jail, he had a lot of time to think, and he faked converting to Christianity. And what's I think is really sad because when we see Desmond in the book, he's wearing a silver crucifix on his ear. He's always quoting Bible verses. Like, you'd think he's actually really serious about this. And there's a couple moments in the book where you think he might actually really be having some kind of religious debate with himself about whether or not it's actually right to do something. But no, at the very end, when Desmond just sits down, when the big bad evil villain has to reveal his master plan to the spy, which there's really no reason to do that. Like, why don't you just shoot the kid? And actually, I'm reading the 9th book, and finally somebody just brings that up. It's like, why didn't anyone just shoot the kid? Like, thank you. Like, I don't think that redeems the series, but like, it's a really good point. And finally, somebody just brought it up. Like, why isn't anyone just shooting the kid? Like, But no, Desmond is basically just a petty crook. He faked for converting to Christianity. He just made it look like he was a born-again Christian, and he basically steals most of the money that's donated to first aid. And his big plan this time, the big master plan of the villain in this book, he wants to create a natural disaster that is actually real, but that he can stop. I think that he can stop isn't as big as it seems, but he's going to make it seem really big, so millions upon billions of dollars get donated, and he will keep most of it. That's what he wants to do. And it's such a disappointment. You'd think, with the whole Christianity angle, it could be one of these things where he's like religiously broken, where he thinks, this isn't fair. How much repentance do I have to do? And I just think that would be a much more, for all the evil he did of like being greedy and he swindled like $50 million before he went to jail, and all his facial disfigurement and stuff, because he has like a face that's like sewn together and his mouth like barely moves. He has to drink food through a straw, and it could be such an interesting thing where he could be almost like, like, fuck God, I'm sick and tired of this. I want this and I deserve it. And in looking up the image you're seeing right now, I actually found out what crocodile tears mean. They're tears or emotion that are faked or insincere. That's why this book is called Crocodile Tears. There is a moment where Alex is actually accosted by crocodiles, but that really has very little to do with the plot. Yeah. It's what it is, folks. There's the one book left in this series that I'm reading of the formal set of Oxrider adventures, and I'm not... I don't have a lot of confidence that I'll be, except for that one thing I told you about. I don't have a lot of confidence that the series is going to make up for itself thus far. So, this is Firewizard23. Take care and bye-bye for now, everybody.